it's Carrie, and it's the afternoon State of Mind on Penn's Peak Radio. Guess what, guys? I got someone on the phone. You there, Paul?
I'm right here. How are
Oh, sorry. I had to press a button. Are you there?
Oh, good. I'm right here.
All right. Hey, we got Paul from Get the Let Out on the phone. Yay! We made it happen.
Yeah. With no help from me.
It's okay. It gave me a good opportunity to play Communication Breakdown, and it all worked out.
Awesome.
How's it going, Paul?
I'm living the dream. It couldn't be better. We're, the band is just, I can't even believe it. I pinch myself daily that I get to do this. Here we are. The band's been together now. This year will be, in the fall, be 14 years.
Woo!
The band began, which is, a number of years longer than Led Zeppelin themselves, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really grown, and of course I always love to mention how Penn's Peak is really at the heart of that. If it wasn't for, I think we spoke about this last year, if it wasn't for Penn's Peak taking a chance on our group all those years ago, I don't know that we'd be talking right now or that I'd be in this position, but it's because of Penn's Peak saying, hey, we're, this band looks kind of okay, I think. Well, let's give them a shot. And that fateful night in December of '04, we played our first show there on December the 17th, and I thought there was going to be 50 people there, and ended up 1,000 people showed up to see us, and here we are all these years later, and traveling the country and making our living playing the most wonderful rock music ever.
Yay! We love it. We love having you here. You are definitely no stranger to this venue, to Penn's Peak. There might be some listeners out there who don't know you, so do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what Get the Let Out is all about?
Absolutely. So we're a Led Zeppelin tribute show, and tribute is the only word that can really describe it at this point, because there hasn't really been another word for this, but because when you think of tribute bands, you typically think of people doing an impersonation, dressing up as a performer, pretend they're them, and presenting a concert as those entertainers would have done in their day, in their era. We do things a bit differently in that the goal for me has always been about replicating the albums, because I love those versions, the song that you're playing on the radio and that we've all listened to on the radio, and just bedroom.
Hey, Paul?
Classic versions. Yes.
You're breaking up just a little bit.
All right, well, let's try something here. See what I can do. 1, 2, testing.
Yep.
1, 2.
I can hear you. Just a little relocation,
Okay, yeah, of course. Well, technology, here we are. 2017, they still don't have this version.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, so what it is that the way we approach this is trying to make the songs sound just like you remember them, and all the instruments, because people will say, they'll be all proud of themselves looking at a video of us, and if they have not seen the show, they'll make a comment like, oh, it shows you how great Led Zeppelin is, that Get the Let Out needs 6 people to do what Led Zeppelin did with 4.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they're very misguided. That's just not how it works, because in the studio, Jimmy Page would overdub, and for those who don't know what that means, he basically would record, let's say, one acoustic guitar track, and then he would find himself saying, "Oh, you know what? I think I'd like to add an electric guitar." And so he'd go back and record an electric guitar along with that acoustic guitar. So now he's got an electric and an acoustic, and he'll go back and say, "Oh, let me overdub a solo." And before you know it, Jimmy Page himself has played 4 or 5 different guitars on a track, but live he could never replicate that, so he just basically made up his own combination where he would play, I guess different moments from the various parts he laid in there and give you sort of a hybrid of it. And that was his to do. It's his song, it's his, it's his guitar parts, but we're just trying to honor them as they were on those albums, because that's how we all grew up listening to them. And so that's the real distinction between us and most of the other, all the other Zeppelin tributes out there. And just in general, we're just one of a handful of tributes that approach the music that way, where we're trying to just stay true to exactly what was on the recordings, and it's worked out really well for us.
Yeah. It's more like a recreation rather than a tribute.
Yeah, I suppose that would be a good way of putting it. The problem is people will still think that when they hear recreation, they're like, well, maybe we're going to recreate the stage show. So most people are aware of Led Zeppelin's performance at Madison Square Garden that was featured in The Song Remains the Same, rock movie. And that is iconically what people think of when they think of Led Zeppelin in concert. So most of the tribute bands that do Zeppelin will sort of mimic those costumes. They'll have a guy in the dragon suit or in the wizard outfit, and they'll do that sort of thing. So we really make it a point. I mean, I don't look like Robert Plant at all. I mean, I'm tall and I'm thin, but I got dark hair, and people, will look at us and say, well, why does the guitar player look more like Robert Plant and the singer looks more like Jimmy Page?
You're right. I've seen your pictures, and you're definitely right about that.
Exactly, and that's fine. In fact, I like that because it immediately removes that thing from people's minds. Because inevitably, if you were to see my band, I mean, yes, I'm tall and I'm thin, and if I dyed my hair blonde, I could do, I guess, a reasonable impersonation. But the problem is that you're going to be sitting there looking at my chin or my nose that's too wide or my hair that isn't just right, and you'll be distracted by that the whole time. And this way, when the curtain opens and we come out and you realize from the get-go, we got a guy that looks like Nikki Sixx playing guitar on the left, got a guy looks like Ted Nugent or Robert Plant on the right, the singer looks more like Howard Stern than he does Robert Plant, and so forth, and then immediately you just are drawn to, okay, well, what are these guys doing? And then hopefully you get sucked into the music and find that we're really serious about trying to make the songs happen. And that's really what is sort of the focus of our group, and again, what distinguishes us, which I'm thrilled about.
It's definitely a special experience for sure. I wanted to touch on something that you were talking about, the layering of the guitars or any sort of instrumentation. Have you found in any of Led Zeppelin's tracks that you maybe found like a unique instrument that you guys had to go out and buy, or do you find that that's not the case so much?
Well, I'll tell you this. With Led Zeppelin, and Andrew Lickey, our multi-instrumentalist, refers to it as voodoo music because it's so interesting. You listen to it, and then you hear something new almost every time you hear it, which is just crazy. And so we've been constantly trying to dissect these recordings and try to figure out what did make certain sounds. And in our research and just looking at what Zeppelin themselves did from in concerts, so maybe sometimes Jimmy might do something that he did in the studio, but very rarely. The guy was always constantly reinventing and changing and stretching. But we've done plenty of research to try to figure that stuff out. And I mean, certainly something like "Whole Lot of Love," we knew that there was a theremin in it, and that's the instrument that you might recognize from the Beach Boys. Good Vibration, with that little woo, that thing it's basically an antenna. You put your hands near it, and you can change the pitch and volume of a note, and it's a very eerie kind of thing when used, and certainly in the psychedelic stuff that we're doing, like the middle of "Whole Lot of Love," we utilize that. So there's things like that, but really, it's so much a matter of just even trying to figure out the parts themselves, because creating the sounds. Yes, that's a wonderful challenge, but it's also incredibly challenging to figure out the parts, because what Led Zeppelin was famous for was they would record, let's say, the basic tracks of a piece. So maybe Jimmy, Robert, the four of them, they'd go and they'd be in the studio and they'd start jamming through the song and do the full arrangement, but it's based on just the four of them. And then they would go back once they found the right take that they liked the most, and they would build upon it. But that version that they first laid down was simply in the moment, and they would literally be improvising their way through it, where, most people, I should say a good amount of artists, when they record a song, they'll put together a structure and they'll have really what they want to do in place. Zeppelin did it, I think, a little more loosely, where they had the idea of where they wanted the song to go. Here's a verse, here's a chorus. But they would literally change, whether it's the bass line that was improv or the guitar parts, he would just change some rhythmic inflection or other things, and he would do this constantly. So when you listen to something like, I would say, like the Lemon song, Lemon's song is like, it's like everyone is soloing from start to finish.
Uh-huh.
You're trying to replicate someone's solo. So the bass line is like, you think, well, in most cases you learn the first verse of a song and you learn how the bass goes in the first verse, and chances are you can repeat that for verses 2 and 3. With Led Zeppelin, that is not the case at all. So you got to learn each thing, and same thing with the melodies that Robert Plant did. Look at a song like "Ramble On," which I love, one of my favorite Led Zeppelin songs, and the verses are all different. The way that he sings it, the inflection, the melody, very unique for a song that really is comprised of 2 chords, and just wonderful. And again, one of the things that I think makes them so endearing with more time, and there's just people find more magic in that music and discover more stuff with each passing year, and that certainly includes us because I always say I've got more respect for Led Zeppelin today than the day I got involved in this project because of all the stuff we've learned from trying to make this stuff happen.
Right. Have you guys ever do you ever take musical liberties on any of the songs, or do you strictly go straight for we want to sound exactly like this track?
The goal for I'd say like 98.6 or 99.2. I'm not sure what the percentage is, but for the majority of it, we are trying to, as faithfully as possible, give you what's on those recordings. But moments in the show, like for instance, the drum solo, Moby Dick.
Right.
Our drummer Adam Ferrioli is just second to none when it comes to replicating John Bonham's work, and he does it so much from that perspective of John Bonham's approach that when he plays, even when he's making stuff up, within the solo, because he will change stuff. He will do all the standard pieces that from Moby Dick, the iconic riffs that John Bonham played, but he will deviate and go off into a little bit of improv. It's one of the few points in the show where that does happen,
right.
And yet because he's so well versed in Bonham's technique and style, it's as much Bonham-esque as the actual parts that he's playing right from the record. So yes, there is a little deviation, but really, for the most part, I mean, people even think Moby Dick is verbatim, and I have to almost remind them that it's not, because, again, there's just moments like that, and then the bow solo in Dazed and Confused might not be absolutely note for note verbatim. Paul Hammond will deviate for a measure or two and stop and raise the bow in the air, and he's got it lighting up, it glows, and people applaud, and we move on. But so there are a few moments, but generally speaking, it's all about those recordings.
That's so cool. I do have a question about something I saw in your bio, just out of curiosity. I saw that you were asked to do some Plant-esque vocals for the HBO show Vinyl. Can you tell me how that happened?
Yeah, really wonderfully cool thing. I got a call from a manager, and he said, "Hey, man, are you near a computer?" I said, "Okay, yeah." He said, "Well, type in HBO Vinyl." This was back in November of 2015. And I didn't know what he was talking about, because I don't even have HBO, or I didn't then. And I hadn't really heard about this. And the funny thing was, when I'm looking at it, I'm watching this, reading this trailer, or this text for a trailer of this upcoming TV show, and it talked about the record business, 1970s, New York, and Bobby Cannavale's one of the actors who I love from Third Watch and other shows. And I was like, oh my God, Olivia, wow, this is like, I was so into this, and I didn't know where my manager was going with this. I just thought, wow, this is really cool. It's a show that I wish I knew about. Now that I do, I'm certainly going to watch it. And he says, well, we got a call from Martin Scorsese's office, and they want you to come to New York to Electric Lady Studios and record vocals for the pilot episode of the TV show. I just about fell off my chair.
Yeah, just hearing all of those words strung together. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
The office, the New York Electric Lady.
Yeah.
We want you. I'm like, I'm looking behind me like, this must be a joke, or this must be talking about somebody else. Because the funny thing is, and this may not be the greatest thing to say from a guy that's in a Zeppelin band, but I really don't think I sound a whole lot like Robert Plant. from a total impersonator standpoint. What I do is I bring these songs to life. I sing the melodies as they go. I deliver them, with a lot of power. I certainly try to, at least. And I've got lots of passion for the music. So I think that's what people enjoy about my performance, the ones that, the fans of our show.
Mm-hmm.
But absolutely, as far as sounding like him, I really, the character of my voice is a little bit different. I certainly get the grit when I go up high, which Robert had at points. But sometimes he was a lot cleaner of a vocalist than I am. I have more of a Steven Tyler, sort of a rasp to my throat when I go up for high notes, even more so than Plant did in some points. So the point of all this was, I'm thinking to myself, God, they're calling me for this. I hope I can pull off what they want me to do. And then when they tell me what they want me to do, this is the kicker.
Uh-huh.
I get the sampling of the song, and they couldn't. I guess they didn't want to pay for the rights for Led Zeppelin songs because it's so extraordinarily priced.
Crazy, yeah.
To pay for the license to utilize Zeppelin songs when you're dealing with synchronization licenses, which is where you got the music synchronized to actual video as well. When you incorporate those two elements, video and audio, that price goes way up as opposed to just simply licensing for audio. So I knew that they probably were going to use the Zeppelin tracks, so they said, here, we're going to do this piece that Zeppelin did live. It's an Eddie Cochran piece called Something Else, which once I heard it, I was like, I kind of recognize this, but it's not really my era. And the funny thing is, Robert Plant doesn't sound like Robert Plant when he's singing this piece. And they're asking me to do this thing that doesn't even sound like Robert Plant. So I was really confused about the whole thing, but the long and short of this was, I went to New York, my manager and we went up there and to Electric Lady Studios and worked with some great people, Stuart Lerman, wonderful producer, Grammy winner, Johnny Gale, he's like the on-site, musician of musicians who he was laying down the guitar work, and he's like sort of a fixture at Electric Lady Studios in New York as a session guy. And then, of course, there was people from Martin Scorsese's office. I think it was Megan Trainor and David Tedeschi, and it was just these wonderful people that were so knowledgeable. And I had the most wonderful experience trying to give them what they wanted. And in the end, I was a little bit nervous because, I'm used to being on both sides of the glass in a studio, but I'm sitting there nervously as I'm singing because they'd stop. They'd be like, Paul, try it this way, try it that way. And I gave them all sorts of different options. And I left there feeling like, maybe I didn't do too good or maybe they didn't like me. And my manager, who was actually in the control room the whole time, he's like, Paul, what are you talking about? After you open your mouth for the first note, they were high-fiving in the studio. That's awesome. So I was very happy that they seemed to enjoy me. And then at the end of it, this was even better. So I did my track, my little snippets, and they reached out to me again a month or so later, right after they had the premiere in New York, and they said, Paul, Marty loved it. Marty. I hear Marty. Marty loved it. But unfortunately, the lawyers, after watching this, they said that the one piece sounds too much like Led Zeppelin, and so now you have to go back and try something else and do another session. And I'm thinking, all I wanted to do was sound like Led Zeppelin, but then the lawyers were too nervous about this one snippet that might end up getting them sued, I guess is what their feeling was. So they had me come back.
Uh-huh.
And this time when I went back to New York, I walked in the studio with a little more spring in my step and all right, well, they liked me, and this was awesome. So it was just a wonderful collaboration, and in the end, I was very, very happy with what I was able to do and what they were able to piece together to create that little dream sequence that utilized my vocals, and it was so neat and just a fun thing to be asked to do. And again, just humbled that they even thought of me, and they said, "No, Paul, we looked at all these different acts out there doing this, and we specifically wanted you out of all the guys." And I'm bowled over by that because I think I'm decent enough of a singer that people certainly have seen our show at Penn's Peak a billion times. We do this around the country, but you're always self-conscious about what you do, and particularly as a singer, it's I'm just happy that they like me and that it worked out. So that was a fun little diversion from the normal routine that I've got in this world of music.
That is so wild. I'm gonna have to go and try and find that episode now so I can go and hear you. Unfortunately,
the clip's on our Facebook page. You can actually watch it on the Facebook page. Yeah, it's right
there. You go. Unfortunately, vinyl was canceled, but anyone out there who likes '70s music, anything about '70s music, should definitely check that show out.
Agreed. I was so bummed that it got canceled because forget about my participation. I mean, my episode aired, was all good, and I was able to share that with the world, which is neat from our perspective. But I was just bummed because I really liked the show. I immediately got HBO so I could watch the show, and then I started watching. I taped the whole season, and I was excited because they already had renewed the second season, but then they somehow decided to cancel.
They were like, "Oh, just kidding."
Yeah, whatever. Hey, it was such a great experience, and I'm happy that I was a part of it for the brief moment that I was.
You guys were just here in the New Year. You came here on New Year's Eve. Is there
for the last 3 years?
That's right. Is there something that sets the crowd here at Penn's Peak apart from other crowds that you see?
Well, I mean, I guess the thing for me with Penn's Peak, it's again because I said earlier that this is the venue that I attribute all of our career to. Because I don't know how else we would have gotten into that world of theaters and national performing venues like Penn's Peak had Penn's Peak not taken a chance, because it's such a tough nut to crack, so to speak. And so I feel such a connection with that room, and the audience knows it because I'm a broken record. Unfortunately, I'm that guy. It's like I just can't help but let people know each time we're there, like, how much the place means to me. And so I feel the audience has a real connection to us because they know that we feel that way about Penn's Peak. And so there's that sort of bond between us and the audience. Like, we're their band, they're our audience. They brought us to brought us to light in terms of a career. And so that, to me, is the thing that's always special, is that I know that even though we see new people at Penn's Peak each time, I always poll the audience and find that at least 20 to 30% of the audience is newcomers. But I know that a core of those people, and I see them, they come through the meet and greet line, they're like, "I've seen you every single time since December of '04. And I'm like, man, that is awesome. I love to hear that because they just love the show so much. And one thing for people who have not seen our show, I change that set list each and every time we perform, not just for a given tour or for a number of weeks or for a couple of months. Literally every single show is different. And if a set list ends up being similar to another one we've done, it's simply by happenstance. It's because I look at the one that we did previously. In this case, I'll look at the two that we played on December 30th and 31st. Right. And then I will try to incorporate some different songs than what we did at that point, because there's so much great stuff to choose from. So really, it's that special connection to Penn's Peak because, again, the venue that took a chance on us and how that audience has always been there for us, and that means the world to me.
Yeah, we definitely see the same, we definitely see that the same people come back every single time to see you guys. There's definitely a connection there. We can see that here too. I don't want to bring the mood down, but I do have a question. I'm sure you heard about Chris Cornell's death yesterday.
I woke up to it today.
Yeah.
I didn't hear it yesterday.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, it just really threw me. And considering the song that he, ended his last performance with, I mean, my God.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask you about. I read that the last song that he performed was Led Zeppelin's "In My Time of Dying," and I was just wondering if you had any thoughts.
Well, it's interesting. I got lots of thoughts about this, and Chris is certainly one of the greats in terms of rock vocalists. I'm really not much of a fan of music past 1980. Because I'm just a big fan of in that most creative era from the late 60s through the 70s of what occurred then. Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, the Beatles, the Stones, the Doors, Grand Funk, Bad Company, all the great classics of all time. Right. But after the fact, I wasn't much of a fan of music that came thereafter. I mean, there's a handful of bands here and there, but Chris Cornell was one of those vocalists. In fact, I used to do "Burden in My Hand," a great Soundgarden tune, because he was such a Led Zeppelin fan, and he had such a powerful voice. So I was definitely an admirer and fan of his abilities, and I'm just sad to lose yet another iconic artist. I thought 2016 was that was bad enough, and now we're still going. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sad. It is sad, definitely. Rest in peace.
Back?
I'm just going to change the subject.
Yeah.
Do you have, before we let you go here, do you have any embarrassing moments on stage that you can share with us?
Well, I mean, listen, anytime your rock star move goes sideways, it can be embarrassing, whatever that might be. But, you know, honestly, we're not really that. I mean, we come out, and there's moments, like, we've had situations where, like, we'll do Stairway to Heaven at every show.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, and you have to, and I love it, and people say, are you bored or sick of it? Absolutely not. I love that song and what it represents, and I feel it's sort of like midnight mass every time I'm doing that song, and we're all, like, you know, celebrating something greater than ourselves with that tune. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll be doing that song, and everyone is waiting for the big, iconic guitar solo.
Right.
And there have been, I'm going to say, 2, maybe 3 times in the history of the group where, because of technical problems, where the radio frequencies in the room have shifted and changed over the course of the night from sound check to now the end of the night. And so all of a sudden, my guitar player, Jimmy Marciano, comes out to, you know, dig in and play that solo note for note like he does every single time. And he goes to play it, and there's nothing. Nothing coming out of his guitar at all.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's happened maybe 2 or 3 times in the history of the group in 14 years. So there's moments like that, you know, where you're dealing with more technical stuff.
Right.
And I took a tumble on stage once where just, you know, we used to have wedges, like, you know, monitor wedges and like speakers on the stage that are aiming at you so you can hear what you're singing. And we don't utilize those anymore. We all do the in-ear monitor thing. But I took a tumble over one of those once in 14 years. And, you know, you just brush yourself up, get up and continue on, make light of it. And generally speaking, you know, we're very lucky. We've got a great crew, and just the whole GTLO team is just, you know, such it's such a professional situation that we all care so much. We care so deeply that every show is the greatest show ever, because that's what's most important. To me, the most important show of my life is tomorrow night in Red Bank, New Jersey at the Count Basie.
It's sold out.
Done. Yeah, it's sold out. Yes, and then once that show's done, then the most important show of my life is Penn's Peak on Saturday. And then when that show's done, the most important, and so forth and so on. That's how we all approach it, and we love what we do so much. And so that's really, you know, for us, just the greatest thing is that we get to do this, and none of us take it for granted. So we really try to give it our all with each show. And as a result of that, things move pretty seamlessly in most situations.
That's so great to hear that from musicians, that they just absolutely give it their everything every single time. There's just something about that passion that obviously comes through on stage, and people connect with that. It's just so wonderful to hear that. So that's really cool.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, and even though I'm the one who said it, because I feel this myself. I'm a concert goer. I love live music. I just saw Olivia Newton-John a couple weeks ago. I see everybody from, you know, the era that I love so much. We saw Paul Anka not so long ago, but I'll see Aerosmith, and I'll go to see all these different bands. And the one thing that inspires me more than anything is those performers, the ones that get up there and they leave nothing on that stage. They give you everything.
Right.
It's that important to them. And so these are the performers that inspire me, and Paul Anka, Steven Tyler. There's certainly those kinds of performers. And so, yeah, to me, the concept of getting on stage, staring at your shoes, being bored, and waiting for the night to end, I can't even comprehend musicians that are in the business that are like that, but I know there are some that look at it as a job and really don't enjoy what they're doing, and I feel really bad for them, because it's not a way to go through life, man. I love what I do. I can't wait to get on stage every night.
Right. I mean, the audience can definitely sense that when that's the case.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, enthusiasm is contagious, and when you see people, and we hear that, that's what you, if you read our Ticketmaster reviews, or you talk to people that seem to enjoy our show, they'll tell you that we look like we're having a whole lot of fun up there. And I'll tell you what, we're not very good actors. We are having a ton of fun. I couldn't fake it. to me, all of us, every one of us, like when we're backstage, we're excited to get back and play, round two, and we just looking forward to the next song. Like it's so much fun to do, and I just simply don't understand musicians that don't feel that. But then again, I get to play the greatest catalog known to mankind.
Yeah.
So I got a bit of an advantage when we're playing Led Zeppelin.
Absolutely right. Do you want to let everyone out there know where to find you online, whether it's your website or Facebook, whatever?
Yeah, well, it's GTLORocks.com. GTLO, like get the lead out. GTLO Rocks, ROCKS, GTLORock.com. Or just do a Google search on Get the Lead Out, LED, certainly. Mm-hmm. And we're the first site that comes up, and you can check out our upcoming tour dates and our Facebook page. We're constantly, engaged on Facebook with letting people, know where the shows are, and then after the shows, we always post our set list and photos of the crowds, and so it's a wonderful community we've kind of built with our audience, and I just, I'm so grateful to them because they've enabled this wonderful career that we get to celebrate and enjoy this wonderful music each night and share it with people around the country and the world. We're going to Canada. We've been there a couple years, going back for a third year in a row this February, and it just continues to grow. And it's thanks to all the wonderful Get the Let Out fans out there and the fans of Led Zeppelin that just want to keep celebrating this music. So I'd like to thank them from me to you.
No. Yeah, you guys definitely have a lot of shows coming up this summer. So check out Get the Let Out this Saturday at Penn's Peak. Doors open at 7. Show starts at 8. Tickets are still available at the Penn's Peak box office and any Ticketmaster location. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much again, Paul. It's always wonderful talking to you. You're such a great person to talk to.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. Well, right back at you.
You're so enthusiastic.
Well, I love what I do, and just like you love what you do, and that's kind of, I'm sad for people that don't have that in their lives. I've spent my life trying to get here, in working jobs that I didn't want to do, just because I needed to support myself so I could continue, on the musical path, and, luckily it worked out. But I certainly appreciate your words and appreciate you and Penn's Peak and Penn's Peak Radio. We've been going on Penn's Peak Radio since the beginning, practically. So,
yay!
Really the world to me. So thank you, and looking forward to our show this weekend.
Definitely. Good luck with your upcoming shows, all of those upcoming shows, and thank you again so much. Have a great day, Paul.
Hey, Carrie, you too.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Got it.
Bye-bye. That was Paul from Get the Let Out. Thank you so much to him again. It's always wonderful talking to him. We're going to have to hit up the ID, and we'll be back with more Led Zeppelin music.